This is Colin Richards. I'm president and founder of Lord & Richards, and I'm very honored, privileged to be talking to you today. And I and my team of investment advisors and financial professionals are helping people every single day, just like you, to achieve financial independence. And on this segment of this episode concerning financial stewardship or biblical stewardship of the resources God places at our disposal, we are continuing a discussion about our Lord's principles from Luke 16, verses 8 and 9. The Lord there indicates that we need to actively seek out the children of this world to discover key biblical principles, key financial principles that will help us in establishing financial certainty, financial independence, so that when disaster strikes or when challenges come, and they will come, we know that we have a place to turn. We have friends who are wise. We've gleaned wisdom and principles from them. And so in this section, we're going to continue a series of just wise advice that we have learned over the years at Lord & Richards, advice that I've put into place in my own business and that I'm helping my clients, whether they're business owners or retirees or employed, whatever your situation. The advice we're giving to you today is great advice about avoiding failure. And we've already talked about what it means to avoid failure through comprehensive planning. At Lord & Richards, we prepare you for financial independence by creating a financial independence roadmap, a written document, a written plan to make sure that you don't fail. You know, they say that if you'll write down your goals or whatever it is you're trying to do, the likelihood of success in that endeavor goes up exponentially, but that the likelihood of failure for goals that aren't ever written down also goes up exponentially. And so we're going to get that plan written down. We're going to address all the key areas: taxes, income, Social Security, your risk management, your estate planning, your health care, chronic illness, and on it goes. So here's another statement I'd like to make to you about one of the key areas of financial planning, and that is addressing market risk. Some of you may recall this statement, and hopefully I get it right, from Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett has just a way of putting things that makes it a little bit more memorable than other people. And he said this: "Only when the tide goes out do you discover who is swimming naked." I'll say it one more time. Only when the tide goes out do you discover who's been swimming naked. Well, what is he telling us? It's during periods of market volatility, it's during periods of challenge in our economy that you discover those who have failed to cover themselves, so to speak, those who have been naked in the market. You know, naked investors are making mistakes and they're making assumptions because they assume the good old days. They assume that this long-term bull market that we've been experiencing for years on end is just going to continue indefinitely. You see this in the crypto craze. My goodness. People investing money that they certainly cannot afford to lose. It's one thing for, a 20-year-old with his $1,000 to throw that in there. It's basically a trip to Vegas. But it's another thing when we see retirees or pre-retirees taking money that they absolutely cannot afford to lose and putting it in jeopardy, throwing it out into the high seas of the market. That is poor financial wisdom. That is financial ignorance, not financial wisdom. We see that even in the way people invest in the stock market. So many people will kind of declare themselves amateur investors, and they'll do that with their hard-earned savings. Let me ask you this. Some of you are experts at things. You know how to build things. You know how to make things, how to write things. You know science. You know technology, and so on. And some of you are amateurs at different things, but you get enjoyment out of it. Might I suggest to you that your retirement and developing a plan for financial independence is not the place to bring an amateur perspective, because the consequences could be drastic and devastating. Let's use a pithy example. My father-in-law is probably one of the handiest, most wonderful individuals that I know. He's wonderful around the home, kind of the opposite. I don't build things. I don't really fix many things. And as a matter of fact, in the early days of my marriage, my wife and mother-in-law laughed as I tried to put up a balance and did it just in the most terrible fashion. But, my father-in-law is really good at things. He's got an engineering mindset, and when he works with machines and equipments and so forth, really phenomenal. Well, one time we were out on a sailboat with them. It's a really neat opportunity, and he's also a pilot. So, jack of all trades, Renaissance man. And he said, well, it's really all just principles, wind, for pilots. So the charts that were there to help us avoid some of the navigational challenges out there, like sandbars and rocks and difficult areas, he said, we really don't need those. So those got thrown at the bottom of the boat. And then when it came to the actual sailing itself, he just said, it's principles. It's principles. Well, let me say that although it's not necessarily the fondest memory, it is a lesson in life that we actually ran aboard this whole sailing vessel ran up on a sandbar that was clearly marked in the charts. And we had to spend excess time, excess effort. It's a long story, but I nearly lost my life in the process in extracting ourselves from a completely avoidable challenge. Now, that's a fun example, and we were all fine through it. But when it comes to retirement, this is serious business. And we're having serious conversations every single day with people just like you who agree this is really important and we've got to get it right. And so might I recommend that you connect with us. Our process is so simple. It's a process, a journey that takes you along the road to learn, first of all, what your goals and your values and your dreams are. Sometimes folks have never shared those out loud. And then develop a plan for financial independence so you can retire without worry. I would love to connect with you, introduce you to my team, show you these principles that are helping folks just like you every single day to be great stewards of the resources God has entrusted to you.